So our problem is to find the product of 3x minus 3x squared over x squared plus 4x minus 5 multiplied by x squared plus x minus 20 over 3x. Same with the previous problems we had, we will be following these simple steps in multiplying rational functions. So the first thing we'll do is to factor our factors. So let's factor out this first. 3x minus 3x squared, the common factor of both terms is 3x. They're both divisible by 3x. So 3x divided by 3x, that will give us 1. Now what is negative 3x squared? Divide it by 3x, that will give us negative x. So if you want to double check your answer, you would use distributive property and you should end up with 3x minus 3x squared. Now for the denominator, it's a quadratic expression, so we can use our guess and check method here. Let's factor out x squared first. So that is x times x. Now we want to factor out negative 5 so that you would choose two factors that would add up to positive 4. So basically the factors of 5 are 5 and 1. So that is negative 5, so meaning one of them should be negative. So how do you pick? You base it from the middle term, which is the positive 4x. So that's positive 4, meaning if you add up 1 and negative 5, you should get a positive 4. So 5 should be the positive and 1 should be negative. So if you want to double check that, 5, positive 5 plus negative 5, negative 1, sorry, you will end up with a positive 4. There. Second is factor out the next factor. So same thing, this is a quadratic expression. So you want to apply here the guess and check method. Factor out x squared, that is x times x. Now you want to factor out negative 20 such that you will end up with a positive 1. So basically, we will use here 5 and 4. So that's negative, so one of them should be negative. That's positive, so 5 should be the positive, and 4 should be negative. 3x, you cannot factor that out. Just copy 3x. Now, to easily do step 2, which divide out the common factors, let's place them in a single fraction sign. So let me just copy this. 3x, 1 minus x, times x minus 4, x plus 5. Now the denominator, you'll have x minus 1 multiplied by x plus 5 multiplied by 3x. Now you want to divide out common factors. So we have here 3x, so those two cancels out. You have here x plus 5, so we cancel them out. Now we are left with 1 minus x minus 4 over x minus 1. So if you try to see, it seems like 1 minus x and x minus 1 are similar. But if you try to rewrite that, let me rewrite 1 minus x. So if you rewrite that, you'll have a negative x, because that's negative x, and 1 should be positive, times x minus 4 over x minus 1. So if you try to see here, negative x plus 1 and x minus 1, they're somewhat similar. The only difference is that they're signs. So if you encounter this case, we can actually change the sign of x and the positive 1 here. Now, why are we doing that? Because you want to cancel out those two. So to do that, you would multiply negative x and positive 1 by a negative 1. Now, are we changing the value here? No, we're only changing the sign. We are rewriting it. Now, why are we rewriting it? So that we would cancel our x minus 1. Why do we want to cancel? Because you want to simplify. Okay, so if you're multiplying this by negative 1, you would just change those signs. So negative now will be positive, and that positive now will be negative. X minus 1. Now let me double check that. So negative 1 times x, negative x. Negative 1 times negative 1, positive 1. So we did not change the value. We only changed the sign. Okay? So in this case now, we can now cancel x minus 1. Those two cancels out now. Okay. Now we are left with negative 1 times x minus 4. If you further simplify that, you'll get negative 1 times x is negative x. Negative 1 times negative 4, that is positive 4. So this is now our simplified form. Now to find the excluded value, let us use again the comparison table here. So you want to write here your original, when I say original, my original expression, which is the given. And then here you want to write here simplified expression. So when you try to check the simplified expression, it is not a fraction. So meaning we don't have a unexcluded value because the denominator is 1. So we don't have a variable at the denominator. So meaning our simplified expression doesn't have a unexcluded value. So none. For the original, you want to go back to the expression given. Now, you want to go to the factored form so you can easily see the excluded values. So go here because this is the factored form, x minus 1. So to find the excluded value in x minus 1, you would equate that to 0. Okay, same thing with x plus 5. So x plus 5 equated to 0. Same thing with 3x. So for 3x, equate that to 0. Now do your simple math. Solve for your x here. So do your simple math. Solve for your x here. So x minus 1. If you do your simple math, you will end up with x equals positive 1. Do your simple math here. X plus 5 equals 0. You will end up with x equals negative 5. Now solve for x again here, 3x equals 0. Do your simple math, and that will give us x equals 0. So these are now the three excluded values. So meaning your x should not be equal to 1, and x should not be equal to negative 5, and x should not be equal to 0. So this is our simplified form. These are the excluded values.